Beyond and hello, everyone. My name is Jonathon Dornbush, and this is Podcast Beyond, episode 623, IGN's weekly PlayStation show, and we have a very special guest with us this week, Peppers.
Yay!
Peppers have a microphone.
The dog.
Yeah, for those of you who are watching the video, you can see the dog, but if you're just listening to audio, I assure you there is a dog.
There is a dog, not a lie. Of course, I'm also joined this week by Max Scoville.
The proprietor of the dog.
That is true. Lucy O'Brien.
I don't have a dog.
Oh, and Brian Altano.
Friend of all the show and the dog.
If you're joining us for this week, this episode is going up on not Christmas Day, which is normally our published day, but I'm not going to put up a podcast on Christmas Day. It may go up either the day before Christmas Eve or the day after Christmas, whenever it makes sense.
That's
called
called
Boxing Day. Hell yeah.
Thank you.
Yes.
Whew.
It's actually it's called Mischief Night.
Devil's Night.
It's also the fifth night of Hanukkah this year.
I just want to say that I didn't know until Altano and I had a conversation the other week that the night before Halloween is like got its own name and like its own weird rituals.
Yeah.
That does not translate to the rest of the world.
It has several names: Cabbage Night, Goosey Night, Mischief Night, Gun Night, Fun Night, Nun Night.
Isn't that Devil's Night?
No,
What's Devil's Night?
that's Tuesday the 4th. I don't know. I've never heard Devil's Night.
There's
Maybe
like a
you just made
D12
that up.
song about it. I think
Really?
it's the same thing. I think it's like Goosey Night or Cabbage Night.
I think
You
because
guys are so quaint.
because they
Goosey
went
Night.
to jail, they could call it that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you do on Goosey Night? You little prance around your little leggings.
Why
Ooh,
would
it's
we have
Goosey Night. Like, what do you little bells on your fingers?
I don't know why they called it that, Goosey Night.
Goosey
They're
Night's weird.
dancers' tights, and we wear them so it's easier to goose each other.
We called it Cabbage Night or Mischief Night.
We tried doing it in big, tough Carhartt pants, but it was hard. We kept breaking our fingernails in those big rustic pockets.
The Carhartts are good for Cabbage Night on account of you can fill them with cabbages.
Thank you so much for joining us for Beyond episode 623. That's all we have. No, this is
It's a holiday special.
It's a holiday special.
Which holiday? All of them.
All of them, whichever holiday you celebrate, we are here to celebrate with you.
Nun
and if you're not
night.
celebrating, Nun Night.
I personally am celebrating Nun Night. So
That's right.
If you're celebrating anything or nothing, we're here with you, and we're going to be running down some questions from the Beyond Facebook group as well as from the Beyond email. The first question of this week's show comes from Bridget, who wrote into Beyond at IGN.com, has been a frequent commenter and listener to the show. Thank you for writing in, Bridget. Bridget said, "Hi guys, I know you normally don't have a question segment. Congrats, we do this week, though. At the Game Awards last week, 2 weeks ago from when the show airs, we saw a hefty Ghost of Tsushima trailer with a summer 2020 release date. If you ask me, we're now at 4 heavily anticipated titles for next year. We can open this up for debate, but those 4 are, according to Bridget, Final Fantasy VII Remake, Cyberpunk 2077, The Last of Us Part 2, and Ghost of Tsushima. What I would like to ask the Beyond crew is this. If you could only choose one of those 4 games to play next year, which would it be and why?" Bridget goes first and says FF7 Remake because I think it's still one of the greatest RPGs of all time. Thanks for all the great content on the show each week, and happy holidays.
Cyberpunk.
Yeah, that's the obvious.
Interesting.
That's the obvious answer.
I think it's the most new thing, despite the fact that we've gotten 800 things Cyberpunk shaped, and we've also gotten a million games with Cyberpunk in the press release. That's the one that feels like a brand new thing. It feels like the most sort of future facing in terms of like, this is a whole new generation of video games. The Last of Us is one of my favorite games of all time. If it had never gotten a sequel, I would have been perfectly happy because it had a perfect ending.
for me, it is The Last of Us, just because I think Naughty Dog are the best storytellers in the AAA space. And like knowing that a sequel exists and not knowing where that story was going to be taken would destroy me, and I would never recover.
Yeah.
It would kill me not knowing where they're taking. Like I agree with you, Altano. Like if there was never a sequel, I would be fine with that. But the fact is like if I knew that in this alternate reality, if I knew that game existed, yet I just couldn't play it, like I would go crazy.
Yeah, in this alternate reality, all 4 games are still coming out. You just only get to play one.
Oh, so
That's-
then
that's
people
the
would
rule.
tell you.
I wouldn't get to experience it. Like that's the thing. Like what? Some retelling? Like what? Like
Like an in 5 minutes,
like
one of our
in
products.
5 minutes, like one of our products that I actually head up on the regular.
And that we're going to have to make next
The Last of Us 2 ending explained.
You mean some sort of like feature?
Like some sort of a feature from
You'll never
someone
believe
who
that
runs
cameo.
features
Who's
on
gonna run these
IGN.com.
So
some sort of elderly Irish lady.
I got really excited about Final Fantasy VII Remake. I think some new screenshots are kicking around, and I just was kind of looking at them being like, holy crap, we're getting this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we're getting this soon, and that's going to be it. That's also like the beginning of that game. And like I have really fond memories of the original Final Fantasy VII. I've tried to go back and replay it, and it's rough.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those games, like mini games on the original PlayStation, that are just so beautiful in your head, and then you play them again, and it's like, oh,
No, I'm
oh dear,
Oh
dear, oh dear,
Oh
me.
heavens! The game's so old now, but so am I.
Someone's been naughty. But no, so in addition to this list, which is very good, I'm kind of not lukewarm. I'm just like, I think The Last of Us set such a high bar the first time around, and the fact that it is sort of, it's not a known quantity, but it is a familiar universe. I'm so much more excited about Cyberpunk just being like, this is a thing that we first heard about in 2013.
Yeah.
We've been thinking about this for 7 years. Like, it's nuts. There's also, on top of this, I was looking at the calendar, the release schedule for the next year, and like, I'm excited about Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. I realize it's just me on that front.
No, me too.
No,
Me
also,
too.
Max, speaking of the fact that I run features at IGN.com, I need you to make some features about that, please.
Okay, we'll do 700 reasons that Yajirobe is the best. He's a real life.
We're trying to do a holiday
great.
episode out here. Why are you doling out assignments?
Yeah, that's
That's Lucy.
Drink your
You
beer.
can't say an idea around Lucy without it becoming a feature.
It's true.
She's
People
anyway,
have actually stopped doing that
yes,
around me.
no.
We've given
Me
no
included.
love to Ghost of Tsushima here,
So here's my thing.
which is not fair.
Running down the list of the four, I actually, if it's the only game I can play for the year, I'm ruling out The Last of Us because on the off chance, as much as I love the first one, it's one of my favorite games of all time. On the off chance this one isn't good or doesn't live up to that one,
Right.
And that's all I have to sit with for a year. I don't know if I could handle that. I personally
That's true.
understand why most of our office is excited. I don't really care about Cyberpunk. It's just not done anything for me.
You don't want to find out about what
Controversial.
happens to Keanu Reeves' ghost?
No, I'm
the
good.
ghost of Johnny Guitar or whatever?
I
Did
think
you-
I'm going to like it when I play it. I think a big problem for me was the first year we saw the 50-minute gameplay demo, and I went into that demo and people were like, this is revolutionary. This is like the future of gaming. I can't believe it. And the city looked beautiful, but the gameplay in both the demos we've seen, I've seen now like close to 2 hours of the game, it just looks like a first-person action game to me. And I think the
That's
world
fair.
is going to be fun to explore.
Totally
I can't
fair.
wait to explore that world.
I think that's
I'm-
very fair, Dono. Like, I will also say that I came out very impressed by the first demo out of E3, and I remember thinking, this game isn't going to come out for years and years. It's just too ambitious, and everything that I saw was very impressive, but it was too vague. I just didn't understand exactly how everything like was actually going to work. The second demo, which was this year, I
Yeah,
believe,
this year.
was really boring. Like
Yeah.
it was like it still presented a really cool world, but what they chose to show off, which was combat primarily, I found really uninspiring. And it's not like I think the game is going to be boring. It's just from the two demos were like night and day.
Yeah. Just for me, of the things like I am most excited for next year, like the Cyberpunk aesthetic has just never been a thing I've been super into. But like I would watch a Netflix series of this world. I want to know more about the world. There's a part in the second demo where they're like, there's a blown out building that happened because of like a crash, and there's a bit of a new district that you can't see. And then he went in to have a conversation to set up the mission. I'm like, no, I want to go explore all that. And so I am excited for that. It just, for me, is not what I want. Right
I'm
now.
excited for this on the basis of what CD Projekt has done before,
Yeah.
and like
And I haven't played much of that
if you
stuff.
look at the leap from Witcher 1, which was a glorified like KOTOR mod, like it was basically running in like the Mass Effect 1 engine or something. The leap from that to Witcher 2, and the leap from Witcher 2 to Witcher 3, and then the fact that this is kind of like, this is them kind of running on all cylinders. I think they're honestly kind of taking a page from Rockstar in this sense to be like, hey, we are nose to the grindstone. We're not showing anything off until it's ready to be shown off. Here is the most robust adaptation of a classic pen and paper RPG, done on a completely ridiculous open world AAA level. Like this is gonna be one of those watershed games. And I think all the stuff that we get excited about with like all the stuff that was great in The Witcher is like the weird side stuff. It's all like the strange character moments and all like the little intimate things. And like there's a cool big overarching story, but like all of the things that kind of make that come to life are not the things that they were putting in the first trailers. They're not the things that were like they were using to market the game, because they're obviously always going to show like the cool badass moments where the guy does the sword stuff. And the same thing with Cyberpunk. Like they showed a bunch of like, stealthy hacky gun stuff and some tough guy baloney. But I think that game is going to be one of those ones where if you try to prod around and find the weird edges where it's like, what happens if I'm a jerk the whole time and then the world responds in turn? I think there's going to be a lot of kind of weird like traditional role-playing game mechanics there.
I love that part of that also overwhelms me, because I don't want to spend 6 hours playing that game wrong and being like, I'm a hacker, and I come to work on Monday, everyone's like, being a hacker sucks ass, you should be a gunman.
I have very bad news for you. CD Projekt they're a studio that is like, we make games to be replayed.
Yeah.
Like there was a choice you made halfway through Witcher 2 where it was like, do you want to go hang out with elves or men? And it was like, depending on which you picked, you wouldn't see the other one unless you replayed the game.
No, totally. And I'm completely okay with that. I'm just like, I hope I pick the right path that clicks with me.
No,
I
get that. I get that all the time.
No, I can't wait to play it in terms of like, I do really want to explore this world just for my personal taste. It's not the one I'm most looking forward to. I honestly, of the four, having never played FF7 the original FF7, I'm excited, but again, I don't have much like personal allegiance to it.
It's a remake.
Ghost is the one that I'm genuinely most excited for because, and again, from the last episode, this episode as well, full disclosure, Andrew Goldfarb is working at Sucker Punch and worked here at IGN, was my boss. I love Sucker Punch as a studio, like the Sly Cooper games I loved as a kid. I grew up then with Infamous on PS3 and really loved those games. We haven't really seen anything from that studio, and they're a really, really solid studio, and this obviously to me is a passion project of theirs. Like this is a thing that they've deeply cared about creating, and I want to see what that produces because it is unlike anything they've made before.
This is definitely a fantastic question.
Yeah.
And it's also a great year.
But there's the other stuff. There's Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, there's Resident Evil 3, there's Doom Eternal, there's Animal Crossing. There's also other stuff coming out.
I'm so excited for Doom
this
Eternal.
I'm actually more excited for Doom 64 coming to PS4.
Yeah. That's also
I'm more
great.
excited for Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing would be
fair.
cool, but will you be able to fight Satan with a chainsaw?
We don't know.
I mean, you might be able to get chainsaw you can put in your house, and you could put up a picture of chainsaw on the wall.
If you consider
use the
Tom
custom
Nook's
pattern printer to make the devil.
Did you say put up a picture of chainsaw on the wall?
Yeah, you can do that in Animal Crossing.
Okay.
It's only
Can
like
you put
the
up a
fourth
picture of
game
Animal
this thing.
Crossing in Doom? Nope.
One.
There you go. I think next year's game of the year has been locked.
That's right.
Figured out and decided. Yeah, I made a list tentatively of all the games coming out next year that I'm excited for, and that list dwarfs anything I could have comprehended, and we don't even know what comes in the second half of next year.
Right.
It's going to be a crazy year.
It's freaking exhausting. This year, like we're talking about this, like there's been a lot of debate about like, was this a good year for games? There have been some great games this year. There have not been a mountain of great games.
No.
That is next year, presumably.
Yeah,
it's kind of, I hate that we have to have this thing where it's like, well, what about Sekiro? What about Resident Evil? What about blah, blah, blah? And it's like, yes, those were cool, but like, can we just take a step back and be like, yeah, this is more an off year. You know?
I think there weren't defining games this year for me. Like, I think I could name, 20 great games that came out this year, but none of them I don't know if necessarily will be my like game of the generation contenders. No. Whereas last year had a handful of those easily. Yeah. And I think next year will too. But yeah, it'll be very interesting to see. Moving on from this is a little bit of a follow-up from last week's discussion that I didn't include in the episode, but will now. Madeline wrote into beyond@ign.com and said, with Xbox and PlayStation currently having two tiers of consoles, the standard device and a higher powered machine, and Xbox confirming they'll do it again the next generation with the two, this question has been weighing on my mind. Does this practice hurt the consumer? Either games are made that work on the high-end machine and run worse on the low-end machine, or they run fine on the low-end machine, meaning users of the high-end aren't really getting their money's worth. The differences may not be very noticeable at the beginning of a generation, but later on, the differences in performance get larger and larger. When discussing new game releases, you're more frequently saying, this ran well on the Pro or X, but lagged and dropped frames a lot on the launch device. And I noticed the difference too. For example, Darksiders 3 paused frequently, when going through doorways on my launch PS4 to the extent I thought it froze. Do we really want to give a pass to this behavior? To me, it doesn't seem ethical to market a lower-powered machine as being a device being adequate for a generation if developers aren't committed to making games run well on it for the entire generation. Keep up the good work, and thank you for your insights, Madeline.
I completely agree with Madeline here. Like, I think this is it's disingenuous to be like, oh, we've got like a half generation mark. It's like, make a new generation. Because the whole thing that consoles have going for them over PCs is that they are like, they work out of the box, and they're, it is, developers are working for one. I mean, you're working for maybe 3 sets of specs. You're making a Xbox, PC, and PS4 or whatever.
Yep. I mean, there's that weird thing that happens. We talked a lot about the iPhone in the last episode because
This is the number 1 iPhone podcast.
It is, yeah. I mean, this is sort of weirdly where consoles are heading is sort of aping that market. And one thing that market does well, in huge quotes, because I hate it, is planned obsolescence, which is every single time they come out with a new phone, they update your old phone and it commits suicide, like in a very sad way, like an old cat. Like it's miserable, and there's all this stuff it can't do anymore, and there's all these games it can't play anymore, and it just gets tired and bleeds.
It also sucks because it means that it's spreading developers thin, and they have less time to kind of refine what they're doing with a particular set of hardware. You look at some of the best games ever, and they came out at the tail end of a console life cycle.
I also, and I'm speaking for myself here, but like I don't really care what model iPhone I get. Like if I upgrade, I'm not going to upgrade to the best one because it's a ridiculous amount of money, and B, I just don't need any of that in my life. Yet with a video game console, I do want the best one.
Right.
I do want to have the best one. Like if I'm dropping that much money, I want to have, it's important to me that the games that I'm playing, that I'm spending hours and hours and hours and hours with, are running it optimal. You know what I mean? And I find that very frustrating that there could be obsolescence.
Yeah. Well, it's like right now, Max, I'm totally with you. I think it's both harmful to the consumer and the developers, because right now, if you think about what a developer may have to work on, it may have to be a game that runs and performs on Xbox One, Xbox One X, PS4, PS4 Pro, PC, and Switch.
Sometimes Switch, yeah. That's like people put out the most. CD Projekt Red had to answer questions from people being like, "Hey, what about Switch?" And they're like, no, I mean a miracle maybe. I mean we got Witcher 3, but like look at it. They didn't say that, but like it's
implied.
They're like, I got to deal with this crap now too. It's definitely a spectrum. The other thing too is that you're not guaranteed to have the best version of a game on the best console. Like you would think that would work perfectly, but sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes like that version has more graphical hiccups or more glitches because it's newer. It's not optimized as well. There's a lot of moving parts there, and so I'm totally with you guys. Like spreading developers across that spectrum of specs and all these different SKUs and platforms they have to worry about makes it more difficult. Now with PlayStation, it's a little bit different because they have a huge suite of in-house studios that are making exclusives. There's going to be a bridge for a little while where developers are servicing that 100+ million audience of PS4 owners. And so even when we're in the thick of next gen, there's going to be a lot of systems back there that who knows? I mean, God of War 2, right? Not announced, not a real game yet. Hopefully not called God of War 2. But is that a game that's going to have to run on PS4, the console that revitalized that franchise? Possibly. I mean, is that going to be a thing that studio, Santa Monica, is going to have to like work late to make sure there's this like, very stripped down version of that game that runs on hardware that 100 million people still have? Who knows? I mean, that's what we get of sort of bridging these console generations so closely, and especially having these mid-generation sort of interim jumps that happen with stuff like the Pro and the One X.
The thing that's really different about this generation of hardware or this generation of consoles is I feel like games as a service have finally sort of arrived.
Yeah.
And we saw the beginning of that when this generation launched, with stuff like, I don't know, GTA Online and Destiny, and obviously, Call of Duty is weird because it's like, it's a new one comes out every year and people kind of like, I don't know, they use their gamer tag or whatever. But like to have anything that you've actually like sunk a ton of time and invested a bunch of time into, I think developers and publishers are like really aware of that. And they don't want to fragment their user base. They don't want to like scare people off. And it's going to be, I think this generation is going to be like a weird kind of like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it kind of thing.
Yeah. I've been talking to Tom Marks a lot about this, of how, thinking about what the launch lineups of these systems may be. A lot of them are probably going to be games as a service games that we still see now, because that's what people have so much invested in this generation.
Yeah.
Like whether it's something like the Division 2 on the Ubisoft scale, or a Fortnite, or a PUBG, or a Warframe, there are so many of those games that people spend hundreds of hours and hundreds of dollars in.
Yeah, and to sort of piggyback on that, I mean, consoles used to be a very, very isolated experience. You would buy one, you would put it in your basement, and you would sit in the dark and play it, and it didn't go online, it didn't connect to anyone. Maybe you'd like call your friends on a landline or like Skype them or something like that. But now, like, if you're playing video games with your friends all the time, you're not going to the next system until they are
do.
too,
Yeah.
or you're convincing them, and like,
You know what hit me the other day is like there's that whole like meme of like new phone, who dis?
yeah.
That's kind of like obsolete already, because the only people who like, if you get a new phone and you don't like just cloud import your contacts or whatever,
You're
you
on
have,
the run.
You don't have some means of like kind of coordinating that.
It means you did a crime.
You're kind of a wreck. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very strange, especially knowing that none of those developers right now have talked about what their future plans are. But
Right.
obviously, something like Fortnite is supported on everything from PCs to consoles to iPhones and Android devices.
Mm-hmm.
I really wish, like, you know, this is the sort of stuff that we talk about after the fact. I really wish developers were able to talk about this stuff now, about what it's like trying to develop games on new systems, what their fears for the future are. That's the sort of stuff that we never really hear, because of course everyone's under these ridiculous NDAs. But this is the kind of stuff that I'd love to hear more about. Like, what is it like right before a whole new generation of consoles is about to launch, and you can see that future being staggered out in front of you? What is going on in your brain right now?
Yeah.
I would just love to hear that.
Are people excited? Are they apprehensive?
Yeah.
Are they like comfortable where they are right now because they've just finally maximized figuring everything out, and now they have
what
to
does
leap
it
into
mean
something new?
for their workload? What does it mean in terms of the crunch discussion that we've
Yeah,
been having
right?
since this
Are
generation?
current consoles holding back their vision? Like,
Yeah.
are they suffocating their art and they want to make something cool and they can't? That's super interesting to me, because that helps sell people on new systems. If you have a bunch of developers being like, this is only possible here, then I go, oh, I want to go there, because that's where it's only possible. But here it's not, so I don't want to be here anymore.
And especially with things like crossplay, if a bunch of big games are coming out next gen but are crossplay compatible with people on PS4, maybe that's more incentive to keep waiting.
Right.
There's a lot of unanswered questions about that stuff.
The thing I was getting at with the new phone who dis thing is the weird jump between platforms.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, you have your friends list, you have your group of people you interact with. Like, if you can't take that with you, that kind of gets weird. Thinking back, I was primarily on 360 last gen. Like, I had a PS3
Same.
and I messed with it, and I think I definitely used it more towards the tail end. I think when PlayStation Plus first rolled around, but like, it's really weird going on Xbox now. Sorry. And just seeing like old achievements and like seeing like my gamer score and being like, oh, right. Yeah, I did a lot on here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most of my friends list on my Xbox is like friends from high school.
Yeah.
And it feels like a ghost town a little bit.
No, I did the same thing as you. I think a lot of people did last gen. Is like Sony stumbled out the gate with the PS3 messaging with the $599 US, Ridge Racer.
Work 2 jobs.
Yeah, work 2 jobs or whatever it was. So dumb. And Microsoft got back and shot themselves in the feet, at the start of this gen.
accepted, yeah.
But that was an interesting generation, because I started on 360 and then halfway through I pivoted, because I didn't really care about achievements or trophies, and that was freeing for me to be able to just jump over. And that was like really fascinating, because I don't think a lot of people did that this generation. I think people locked in early on, and that's where they stuck. The other thing too is that cross-platform, cross-gen gameplay across these games as a service, all these buzzwords, gets sort of convoluted when one of them is locked at 60 frames per second constantly, and you're playing some twitchy first-person shooter or something, and you're playing against these plebes in like 20 frames per second on a
Is it
Switch.
plebes or plebs?
You can do either.
I
It's
don't
it's derogatory either way. So just ride it out.
I got like okay boomered in some comments because I said plebes, and I was like, I always saw it written down.
God, I wish I was a boomer.
Red, do you know?
I would never use spell check.
A lot of
I'd have a
Australians
house.
say broccoli, which really
What?
Broccoli?
throws me.
That's the
Didn't-
stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Didn't
in my life.
NVC get in a lot of trouble for cauliflower and cauliflower recently? Were you
Really?
part of that episode? Yeah.
No, I wasn't part of that
Apparently,
episode.
someone mispronounced cauliflower.
No, they got in trouble because of Pokemon.
Oh, I haven't heard of that. Moving on from that, wanted to
Glad I'm not on that podcast.
bring up a question kind of that does encompass this whole generation, looks a little bit forward. Bruce asked, did we really just go through a console generation without a sequel to GTA 5 and accept it like everything?
Yeah, Max and I were just talking about this the other day. Rockstar, a high-end, incredible studio who used to be prolific as hell making weird experimental stuff like State of Emergency, Bully,
Table tennis.
We were all
we were all
gearing
there.
up to say it. Yeah.
The Warriors
Yeah.
shipped one game this generation, one new game this generation.
Yeah.
We got 5, the gift that keeps giving, if that's what you want.
Well, there was 5. There was Red Dead 2.
Yeah.
There was LA Noire on Switch. There was an LA Noire
Noire
VR
VR.
experience.
But also, let's not forget how much of a focus GTA Online was for
Yeah.
Rockstar this
Yeah.
this generation.
Online changed the game.
But all of a sudden, Rockstar didn't need to make 2 massive, giant, like crunch heavy, single player experiences because they had such success, such incredible success with GTA.
Their only game this generation was the biggest game ever made. So
That's
it's
right.
not like not like you only made table tennis and then you went to bed. It's like you worked your asses
This
off.
conversation makes me so crazy, and I completely agree because I wish we got more story stuff. Like I wish we got, I don't know, maybe just do like a Ballad of Fat Tony or whatever. Do like a DLC expansion in the same universe. Just add a bunch of the crap you took from online, but then throw in some
Wasn't it
original.
the Ballad of Gay Tony?
Get Ballad of Gay. Fat Tony's from The Simpsons. You know what I mean?
Was he
No,
fat?
I know
The
he
Wicked,
I
Wicked
think
and
he
the
was.
Divine or something.
I think he was
There's
fat.
like the Lost and the Darned, or I forget the names of the things.
Yeah.
Those expansions are great, and like we didn't get anything like that. Like I was hoping we'd get something that was like, again, 3 characters.
Yep.
One of them's an Uber driver, one of them's a cop, and one of them is a human woman. And like,
Imagine.
yeah, give me I don't know, I just want to like throw those Hauser brothers like, here's a crazy idea, just make it, do a thing, Give me Drive plus Nightcrawler.
I feel it like there's been a lot of diversity in their depictions of men. Like full credit to Rockstar. Like we've had a lot of diversity in the male range. It would be nice to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I respect the hell out of them not trying to write something disingenuously. I think that you could say that GTA 5 is like a portrait of like weird toxic masculinity in the 21st century. Like we're doing a game of the decade thing, and I did a write up on GTA 5.
Hear the comments right now. They're rolling in.
They're mad.
I know, like
What do you want?
sometimes when you're saying these things, like you're like, is this worth it for the comment? Like, is this worth saying
I'm
it out loud
praising
because of the comments?
I like GTA 5
So do
whole
I.
lot. It's
I
about,
think it's bad.
yeah.
Anyway, I miss when
I'm
they would
taking the
do
heat on
weird
this one.
one-offs like Manhunt, which is not DLC for a game that's already built. Stuff like The
not
Warriors,
Manhunt.
which is them being like, what if we made Double Dragon based on one of the greatest 80s movies?
I think that's a very good point, and I do love that. But I also, to Max's point, like I do miss the days of like great Rockstar single player DLC. Like we just don't have that anymore.
I think GTA 5 is like, it kind of bothers me how that, it's one of the biggest games. It's the 3rd best-selling game in history. Like it is behind Tetris and Minecraft, which is insane. And we somehow just kind of like, we're sort of like laissez-faire. We're like, yeah, that was cool. I played it in 2013. It's a really fucking good game.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It is like, so I was working with Adam Sessler when that came out and he reviewed it, and he was like, he's such a weird, impassioned dude, but he came in and he was like, this is like a Charles Dickens book. Like this is this gigantic, sprawling, like simultaneously like deft and nuanced, but also heavy-handed satire of current society. And he's like, in 100 years, people can look back at this game and go, man, things were really messed up back then.
Yeah.
And that's entirely it. That game works on so many different levels. It works on the smart levels. It works on stupid levels. It works on go online and play Tron with your friends levels.
Max, you and I share a same favorite movie this year, Uncut Gems, which I invite all of you to watch because it kicks ass.
That's your favorite movie this year?
hands down.
Okay.
Yeah, we've seen it twice now.
All right, I
I'm
gotta
totally
go
in love
see
with it. The movie they did before that is a movie called Good Time, and structurally similarly manic and frantic and paranoid. Between those films, they directed a Jay-Z video. That's all I'm asking for here. That's it. I want Charles Dickens to write 2 of the greatest books ever, and between all of that, write a newspaper column. You get weird, be like, what's up with cats? I hate them.
What I was getting at here is that if you asked me, do I want GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas do I want like that dole out kind of like, let me get like a smaller game every couple of years, or do I want a GTA 5 every 10 years? I will take the latter. Like the amount of flying leap they took between those two things.
I agree, but I really do miss, and like this is on me because I don't play Red Dead Online. I don't play GTA Online. I love GTA 5 and I loved Red Dead and Red Dead 2. I would just bring back the DLC. Just bring back those weird little slices of life that you did so well.
You know, we talk about like what will make you like give a shit about games between consoles this upcoming console generation. I was like, yeah, I have GTA 3 on PS3 or GTA 5 on PS3. It's great. I like it a whole lot. And they were like, we added more grass and cats and there's peyote hidden around the world and your main characters can do peyote and turn into dolphins. And I was like, I am spending $60 on that game again.
Oh, I did that in a heartbeat.
Oh, yeah.
That said, if between all of that, they were like, our B team made gun baseball. Have a great summer. That's all I want. Something stupid and small that sort of just like, that exudes their weirdness, that still has polish. You know, like stuff like,
I'm like 80% certain they have gun baseball in GTA.
I also feel like gun baseball is the end game for America.
Yeah, we'll get there.
Yeah. We'll get there in the end.
Anyway,
it's a pie full of baseballs that you shoot.
They have a mode in GTA
and then we become fifth in spelling.
There's a hedge maze, and the only weapons are like knives and hand grenades, and it's the stupidest thing.
Tony was actually pretty thin, by the way. Anyway, moving on. Ben said, I'd like to hear the cast members answer this question for the other cast members. Just making sure Peppers doesn't jump off the table. If there was an emote named after someone else on the Beyond cast, what would it be and what game would it be in?
An emote. Oh, interesting.
I think Lucy's would be called the elderly Irish woman.
I mean, that's not an emote. How can you be an elderly Irish woman as an emote? Like what? Like you're just like, you just hunch your shoulders over and it's like the weight of the world comes crashing down.
There you go.
You know, you
do that.
You put some pennies in your
You're doing it.
hand and
you're doing
That's the one.
Yeah,
you're doing it
you
right
do
now.
these like weird. You do like the scary like storyteller hands a lot, where you're just like the weight of the world, and I'm like, I didn't know it looked like that.
peel a potato angrily.
Yeah.
What would the emote be? That exactly.
I like the
that.
circular peel technique you were going there.
I think it's how you like you brush a potato. You use like a toothbrush.
Why are you so angry? Because it's the last one because of the famine.
Good God!
That's it. It's an Irish joke.
I think
Jonathan, I think your would just be looking directly at the camera and going, "Hello."
Yeah, that works.
Either that or exasperated at the rest of us.
No, I think that you would have like yours would be like a cape, like a flowing cape, and you'd be like dun, 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 like that.
Okay.
Wow.
That would be Jonathan's.
That's
like
a good
making the world better, you know.
Oh man,
Sweet.
I had a nice. I gave my fellow cast member a nice one. Elderly Irish woman.
I gave you a mean one.
I do this walk that upsets people when they see me do it because it's unnatural looking. It's like this stork.
The stork walk.
Can you do it on camera?
No.
Oh man.
I don't think we have enough room in here to do it properly.
Okay.
I kind of see yours being like more of like a turn, like a turn and sort of like a front, like almost like Jim from The Office to the camera, but like more suave. Like a sort of like this is like look like a kind of like this is over here. Sorry, Jonathan.
No, it's okay. I'm keeping track.
I hate to say I love this, but Max frustrated is like one of my favorite things.
Max frustrated, but like
because he's in like a Hawaiian shirt and he has like great hair and he's like this stupid.
But it's also there's some gravitas to it. Like it's like a turn and like a kind of it's like a steely kind of look, but it's frustration.
I think like you got your old Irish woman comment. One of my favorites was somebody was like, this guy with the hair is a real douche. And somebody else was like, no. That's just how his face looks. He's got like resting douche face. And I was like, thanks, I guess. You're not wrong.
When I lost weight a couple of years ago, I lost like 30 pounds and a bunch of people were like, he looks great, but his head's still huge. And I'm like, I can't fix that. I don't know what to do with that. That's just there. It's better that it's still there and the rest isn't dying.
You got to get your skull shaved.
I was going to do that. I was going to go see a personal trainer for my head. Just bash
you go down to the Motel Super 8 and you call my friend Ricky and he comes out. He's got a Dremel. He gets under there and really just grinds it down.
I think, Altano, yours would be putting on a jacket.
Thanks.
Oh yeah.
It would be a very subtle move, but it would be very cool.
I like,
but not overstated, not like a Danny Zuko kind of flip collar thing. Just
am I pulling it out of like nowhere?
Yeah, sort of just like like that.
The coat just materializes as you do it.
That's a good one. I'll take that.
Lucy, did you watch The West Wing?
The what?
The West Wing?
No, I did not.
Okay.
Why? Are you going to say something nice? Is it going to be nicer than elderly Irish woman?
That wasn't me who came up with that. But no,
You said you loved that joke, so then we ran it into the ground. That's what we do. Like
I
idiot
do love that
children.
joke. It still makes me laugh.
there's a key jacket thing in The West Wing.
Right.
But whatever.
Were there other questions, or was it just this one?
You mean for the show? No, there are other questions. Jade,
See, there's that frustrated
There we
sass
go.
I was telling you guys about. It's great.
Jade asked, do any of you have any Christmas or holiday traditions related around gaming? Jade said, I personally spend Christmas Eve night revisiting an old game. I think this year it'll be Final Fantasy VII and prep for the remake next year.
That's going to make the remake look great.
Yeah.
It's going to look awesome.
Does anyone do anything around the holidays, like specifically?
I play games on New Year's Day because usually I'm brutally hungover.
Okay.
I had a huge family growing up, and I never got to play video games on Christmas Eve because I was always around a bunch of other people, and I'm Italian, so we had to like be basically handcuffed to a large, long table, and I'd be at the kids part of it, which is like now all adults. But over the last few years, I stopped traveling on Christmas because when you become an adult, you can own your own holidays, and it rules. And so I'm actually excited to play video games on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day because I can now.
Yeah.
And I really couldn't for the longest time because that's not your holiday when you're a kid, unless it's at your house. But then you have to watch your cousins have to come over and watch you play games or whatever.
Family gatherings usually were at my house, and so growing up, it would be like you have until about noon, and so maybe get an hour or two of a game in. But yeah, the last Christmas or two, it's like, oh, I can just hang around and play games if I want.
I remember, I think I got Tomb Raider on PlayStation, the original PlayStation, for Christmas one year, and I also got like this giant box of nougat from my great aunt because that's the only person in the world that would ever give you a giant box of nougat.
What's the
nougat?
Wait, just the nougat?
That's a nougat.
What? It doesn't have chocolate or
No, it was just like plain.
That's like toffee on its own. It's like the stuff in the Milky Ways is like that's like a simpleton's nougat.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
And anyway,
but your aunt wanted you to not have teeth.
Great
like her.
aunt.
Do you eat it with a knife and fork?
Well, no, I just remember sitting there playing the original Tomb Raider and just like I ate this whole freaking box. And like, to be honest, it's one of my best video game memories.
Are they like individual pieces?
Yeah, like little chopped up pieces, and it's full of like nuts
I have like a
and
deeply
cherries.
European family, and this is like kind of weird to me.
Oh, like they have it in
Italy, they're more about marzipan, which is like they basically are just
know.
like, do you want an apple? And you're like, kind of. And they're like, well, it tastes like melted almonds and tires. And you're like, you son of a bitch.
I love marzipan.
Really?
I love
We just ate
my
it.
my
I really
mom
liked
was
it,
like
yeah.
the biggest fan of it.
My mom was all into like weird European like Christmas traditions and stuff. She'd take me to like these strange like European grocery stores, and I remember one thing that I cannot unsee, which was a figurine of a little boy, like a little marzipan boy, who was pulling his pants down, and there was a gold coin in his ass crack, and I don't understand it. It's a thing, and I just remember seeing it being like, I certainly.
Like a keg in there.
I was like, I think I was like 11 maybe, and I was like, I definitely still have questions about Christmas.
That's the nougat.
We all said nougat very differently this episode.
No one. How can someone please just tweet at us?
Pronounced Nugent. Like Ted Nugent.
Ted Nugent.
Delicious.
I always called it nougat growing up.
I thought it was nougat, like no tea. That's what I thought.
Oh, like Voldemort.
Like no teeth.
It's like Voldemort.
Yeah. That's the correct pronunciation.
Duke Nougat
Is
fruit.
it?
Yeah. J.K. Rowling like a year ago was like, hey, by the way, the
Oh,
T
yeah, but
is
that's
silent.
J.K. Rowling being like, oh, by the way, everyone in this whole, and I say this is a gay woman, like everyone in the whole cast is gay, surprise. There's a whole like YouTube video about that. I mean, she can't just redo her story.
Oh,
she needs
please.
to-
Okay. I'm a Star Wars fan. Yes, you can. You can wake up every 2.5 weeks and be like, oh, what if Greedo was having a submarine sandwich during the middle of his
But
altercation?
what if instead of like re-releasing his entire films, George Lucas just went on Twitter and was like, oh, yeah, Lobot had a huge wiener.
I would actually
That's what J.K. has been doing.
I'd be more okay with that than like all of a sudden Greedo just yelling McClunky the second Disney Plus
That was a
launches.
pretty cool bonus little thing.
It was pretty good.
It's like giving like peyote and cats and GTA.
Yeah.
Just an extra bonus reason to check.
Speaking of elderly Irish women, McClunky.
McClunky, and a McClunky to you, my good
My
sir.
Clunky to you as well, my friends.
I will never, ever, ever say Voldemort.
No, it's I just saw
That's
Harry Potter
hugely agitating.
and the
you know
Cursed
that,
Child. They all said it that way. It was very weird.
Peeves the Poltergeist was wearing crotchless panties the whole time. It's true. She tweeted it out on her private Twitter.
I'd believe it.
Do you know the T's in Harry Potter are silent?
There were supposed to be L's.
Potter. Harry Potter. Alyssa or Elisa asked, what game do you wish you saw this generation? So maybe something that either was announced and never got released, or a game you wished had come out this generation or this decade, since we're getting into the end.
Star Wars Ragtag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was 1313.
Was 1313 this generation?
Yeah, the very beginning of it.
yeah.
I think it was like 2013.
Yeah, Ragtag or 1313 would have been really
I just
interesting.
wanted a new Silent Hill game. And, PT Silent Hills was going to be that. And look what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm holding out hope that we'll still get something like that someday. I don't know if we're just Death Stranding from here on out.
I think
hope
he'll
not.
go in different ways.
Yeah, it's weird because he did like 40 Metal Gears and then he was like, I'm gonna do individual, unique one-offs. I mean, he did some weird stuff in between, like Boktai, Zone of Enders, a bunch of other strange things like that. But so I really do hope we get some more horror.
Yeah, well, he would kind of also talk about, or at least all the scuttlebutt after the Konami thing was like he tried to stop making Metal Gears multiple times, and then he just
I
kept
think
having
that
to.
if not to do the thing that I do, but if you honestly take a look back at all the Metal Gear games, they're all sort of different games that are kind of stitched together with like story beats.
Yeah.
There's like kind of different types of stealthy tactical action stuff, but
Like characters and sort of broad themes. Or
I mean,
Right.
Snake
Connect
Eater
them.
was like a survival game.
Yeah.
There's some weird stuff in there. I don't know.
I would have loved a new proper Paper Mario RPG. The original and the Thousand Year Door are two of my favorite RPGs.
What's Mario?
never heard of him.
Brian knows who he is.
He's a plumber.
There you go. I just love those RPGs and wish we had gotten a proper third one instead of where that and Mario and Luigi ended up going.
I mean, I just wanted like a pro patch for Bloodborne. I don't know how.
Yeah.
I have no idea how these things are made. I don't know how fucking hard that is.
Yeah.
Like everyone loves that game.
Okay, well, you know how hard it is to play Bloodborne?
Yeah.
How hard do you think it is to like make Bloodborne?
To draw the spiders
there.
scarier.
You think they're all scared to go back in that game? They're like, we don't want to make those fucking wolves in 4K. Are you out of your goddamn mind?
There's actually, I'll be honest with you, like the frame rate's kind of janky and there's like some chromatic aberration issues, but I do kind of like the fact that it looks like a lot of the wolves and hair in that game is like glued on at this point. Because it's like a 2015 game and it just looks like you took like weird like strips of hair and stuck them all over a man and he was like,
Stapled it on.
Yeah.
Two last questions to wrap things up. Patrick asked, what does everyone hope to play over the break? So do you guys have any games that you've like set aside or know you're going to be playing over break that you want to get to either this year or just in your backlog?
I'm doing that nonsense where I'm just like re-downloading old games being like, they're going to look cooler on my new TV. Battlefront 2 just for the hell of it because Star Wars and whatnot. And they apparently have patched the crap out of it. There's a bunch of better stuff in there.
Yeah, I've been playing that. It's a good time.
Also re-downloaded Sleeping Dogs because I'm feeling all weird nostalgic. I might just revisit a bunch of my favorite games from the last decade.
Yeah. I will say there is an amazing sale going on the PlayStation Store right now. It is like a game of the end of year, but also like game of the decade sale. It's insane.
God of War was like $375 or something.
Yeah, things are
my
on crazy
God.
price.
Yeah, I got the order for like $5, and I think it did that thing where I spent so little on it that I'm like, I'll move on. You know,
Yeah.
I just finally, I've just moved into a new place and like, hopefully I'll be in this place for a while. And so I kind of just want to, like, cause I was splitting time between mine and my girlfriend's place for so long. And like, you know, that kind of disrupts how you spend your spare time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of just want, I brought a whole bunch of games over from Australia that I was like, I will play these again or I will finish these. And I want to at least start in that pile over the break.
Yeah. Brian, what about you?
I think Dark Souls 3.
Yeah.
I might finish that, but I also might do something that's a little smaller and lighter. So I haven't figured that out yet. Maybe some indie stuff I missed this year because I played all the big stuff this year, and I want to dig in. And I keep hearing about Disco Elysium, and I don't think I have a way to play it.
Yeah.
I don't have a PC.
It is coming to consoles.
It's coming
next
to
year.
consoles next year.
Yeah, I'm
so maybe
kind
I'll
of
wait.
good. Another game for 2020 that I.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's one I want to play it, but
What
yeah,
about a sprawling RPG full of decisions? You got time for that?
What a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking at kind of doing an Annapurna just playthrough. There are a bunch of them. We were talking about Ashen on the last episode, but that, Sayonara Wild Hearts, Wadham, just all of the stuff that they've released in the last year or two that's killed it. And then also Outer Wilds, which I think they also put out, and Outer Worlds.
Oh, Outer Worlds.
Both.
What about Outer Wilds?
I really
Outside
actually
lands.
want to play more of that.
Yeah. Worlds is definitely a big one I'd like to get to. And last but not least, Duncan asked, what's in Max's pocket?
Oh boy, let's find out.
A dog.
Take the dog.
Yeah, technically.
Take this fresh hound.
Oh, hello, bud.
What do we got?
Hi.
All sorts of good stuff in here. Oh boy, what do we got? Okay, we got some keys. I'm part of the IKEA family. Got a knife,
Oh.
cutting stuff, and Fear Factor Unleashed for the Game Boy Advance. Sweet.
It's always a pleasure finding out
Gaming
Yeah.
has arrived.
what was in Max's pocket. I did not expect the knife, to be completely honest.
Have you played that game?
The knife?
Yeah.
The knife
Where you
game.
see how
knife
many
game?
hands you can cut?
Just the bishop game?
yeah, that one.
We were talking about that scene in Heavy Rain at home because we had talked about it on the show. And my girlfriend played Heavy Rain. She didn't play a ton of games on the PS3, but instantly that scene just sprang into her mind when I mentioned it. She's
Isn't
like,
it-
oh, God.
Isn't that crazy? We
Yeah.
have seen games go in so many different places in our lives, and somehow the one in Heavy Rain where you cut off your own finger is one of the ones that's really
never-
stuck with people.
But you
Yeah.
never forget it. You
Yeah.
never forget it.
You never forget your first finger.
Cutting.
What about the part where you change the diaper as the old detective and you're like, oh boy, what am I going to do about this? And you just you can keep screwing it up where he's just like, and then he just throws the diaper
But
away. And
like
then he
slow,
goes,
like slow. You know how you
he goes,
you
yep.
slowly
oh,
like when
oh.
you screw up in a David Cage game, you sort of screw it up.
Oh, it's so
quite
funny.
Slowly.
I think that game had probably, if we did the top 5 saddest apartments in games, that would probably have 4 of them.
Yeah, I was going to say
Yeah.
the majority
Yeah.
would be in that game.
That's up there with Matthew McConaughey's apartment in True Detective.
There's a house in Detroit, Become Human. That's pretty sad, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a very sad
basically,
house.
there are multiple.
Yeah, well, I didn't
houses
get
in
that
Detroit.
far.
That thing where
stopped playing
where the wife leaves the guy and he wakes up and he's like, you want to have microwave pizza or do homework or watch TV, and you get up and shut the TV off and he's like, no, I don't want to go to bed, and you're like, shut up and go to bed. And you drink beer by yourself.
I love that.
Holy
stupid
crap,
game.
that's dark.
You just go out on the porch and just stare off into the night, and then you just go over to the door and you're like, and you start to open it 3 times.
Yeah, and you can just have a bunch of orange juice.
I love role playing in that weird game.
Buddy. Not too far.
Yeah,
Just making sure Peppers
Heavy Rain.
doesn't.
I watched The Ring recently. It's weird how much
Which
Heavy Rain
one?
borrowed the original, but how much that Heavy Rain borrowed from that, where it's like, oh no, the rain's coming. It's a lot of rain. It's rain is not that scary of a. I feel like if it was snow, it would be a lot more
but
menacing.
it washes away crimes.
Yeah, but and if you've got something in a well, then it drowns probably. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's Christmas week.
Go watch The Ring.
Yeah,
What a
go-
transition.
Ring in the new year.
Do any of you
Don't
guys?
play Detroit Become Human over the Christmas break, please.
Why not?
It's too depressing.
Oh.
It is pretty sad.
Play DuckTales. It has Scrooge in it.
Okay, I would like to talk to you about this off the air because it's a longer discussion. But I've been watching the new DuckTales. Have you watched it at all?
No.
That show
End of
feels
discussion.
that show feels primed for a new video game, and it's crazy to me that they have not made a new DuckTales.
They should
game.
totally do that.
It'd be amazing. Anyway, thank you so much for listening and/or watching to this crazy episode. Again, as I mentioned, this is a holiday episode that we're pre-recording the week before. If you are watching or listening, I hope if you're celebrating the holidays, you're having a great holiday, no matter what you're up to. If you're not celebrating, I hope you're finding other fun, interesting things to do for the week.
And enjoy the days off.
Yeah,
Yes.
if you're working and this podcast helped you, be strong, man.
Yeah.
And if
Woman,
you're
keep
bored,
fighting.
here's a fun activity. Go into your favorite game with a character creator and make a Santa Claus and then role play through that game as a Santa Claus.
That's your homework for the week. Let us know how it went in 2020, and we'll find out about your misadventures then. Thank you so much for watching and listening to this episode. We're usually live every week at Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific at beyond.ign.com, youtube.com/IGNBeyond, and your favorite podcast services around the world.
And please also tune in to IGN. Well, no, don't tune in. That's not, people don't do that.
We got a
don't-
radio station.
We have an old time
AM
radio
Yeah.
station. No. Please, our best of the decade list is going up on the 31st of December. That is a massive
Yes.
deal. Please.
And on
check
the
it out.
2nd, we are ranking our top 7 places to buy ice cream cakes.
Yep.
So
On
check
third,
that out
top
for
5
sure.
saddest apartments in games.
Where's Carvel on that list?
2.
Ooh.
Also,
makes sense.
one of the saddest apartments.
Yeah, that's very true. Anyway, I am at JM Dornbush on Twitter and Instagram. Max is at Max Scoville. Lucy is at Luce O'Brien. And Brian is at Agent Bizzle. Thank you so much for listening and watching. And as always, beyond.
Beyond.
Cookie puss.
What?
Ah.
Can't say that.
You can say that. It means face. Cookie face. That's what they call it.
Like, just eat some poo.